welcome to episode number 194 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. This episode of the podcast is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. I'm Ryan Coop here, joined this evening by Adam Stewart and Trey Colbeck, as always, on a Thursday night with our Grey Cup preview show. Can you believe it? We are here for the Grey Cup finally, as it's this weekend. It's this Sunday. The big game is here, Winnipeg, Toronto. One of these teams is taking home Grey Cup 109. We got a jam-packed show here for you today. We'll talk about some of the latest news from around the CFL. We'll touch on the CFL award winners. The awards show just went on here just a moment ago, and all the winners have been posted. We'll preview the major storylines, the positional matchups for the Grey Cup game, talk our CFL fantasy options. We'll make our betting picks as well with some fun, I think, prop bets along the way here also. We'll also take your comments and questions in the live chat. I see some of you in here already, which is great to see. All made possible by presenting sponsor Game Time TV. Learn more by visiting GameTimeTV.ca or following on Facebook, facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. Well, I mentioned them already, but let's welcome them in officially here now. First, it's the man decked out in his bomber gear, looking to see his team complete the three-peat this weekend. The great Trey Colbeck is here. Trey, how are you tonight?
I'm all right, man. I'm getting to that busy part of school, man. You know how it is, like exam. Well, I don't have any exams, but final papers, final presentations. So, big weekend. I'm trying to get the energy. Today was my last day of school of the week. I got a nice little drive tomorrow that I got to get some Betty by for after this, and go see Adam in Regina.
Yes, exciting times. Trey going to be on location for the Grey Cup, going to the game this weekend. Looking forward to hearing about your experience with all of that. And joining us here this evening as well, he's traded in his Argos hat from the past couple of weeks. He's back decked out in the Saskatchewan green. Farmer in Saskatchewan, the great Adam Stewart. Adam, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good. Just enjoying, whatnot. It's a Grey Cup season. It's time to go and have a party in Saskatchewan. Why wouldn't I wear some Saskatchewan gear for a little bit of a change? No, I'm excited for the weekend here and can't wait to see everybody out at the parties in Regina this weekend. So we'll see you there.
Yes, a lot of fun festivities as the week goes along. The CFL, the Grey Cup is not just a one-day game. It's really a week-long event. It's a celebration of the sport. It's a celebration of the fans that make the league what it is, and it's exciting to see everybody gathering together, even though, I feel a little left out at times when I'm not able to make it there. But no, I hope everybody has a good, fun, safe Grey Cup week. And let's get into talking about things here shortly for this week. But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors for this episode of the podcast, which is Betstamp. There are so many different sports books out there these days, and each one offers you different prices for the same games. How do you ensure you're getting the best value? Well, Betstamp provides you the info at no additional cost. You simply pull up the game, such as the Grey Cup, on the Betstamp app. You can see the odds offered by all of the different sportsbook affiliates for that game. You can find different spreads, different payouts for the same odds, all in one convenient place. And if you find some you like, you can sign up for the corresponding site directly through the Betstamp BetLink page. Link your picks there, track your picks in your account as you go throughout the year. And if you want some extra insight before you make your wagers, you can check out the commission-free Betstamp Marketplace. You can see the bets that others have been placing there as well. Through the verified bet tracking feature, you get the guarantee that those odds are legitimate. You can find our consensus CFL picks there under the username CF Countdown Pod. You can also check out Trey's weekly betting picks under Trey CF Countdown. Visit betstamp.app or download the free app from your local app store. Sign up with referral code CFC to start using Betstamp free today. Best of luck with your wagers, and remember, always bet responsibly. Now, guys, let's get into talking about our first topic here this evening. Let's touch on a bit of news, and I do not have banners ready to put up on the screen, so I'll try to get those ready as we go along. A bit of a last-minute planning today. But our first major news topic, maybe one of the most absurd ones of the entire season we've had to talk about here. is Tom Brady saying he wants to play in the CFL one day. Yes, NFL quarterback, 5-time Super Bowl champion, 6-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady goes and wins an NFL game over in Germany. I think that's now 4 countries where he's won a game, and decides he wants a crack at the CFL now because he plays his best in other countries, which is hard to believe given his caliber of talent. So what was your guys' reaction to this news here? Let's start with you, Trey.
My honest reaction was classic Grey Cup week. There's going to be CFL news that's not Grey Cup related. We had the whole Bo thing, and I feel like there was something else now that I can't remember. And now Tom Brady. It's a complete joke. Like he's not coming here, people. Like, yeah, it's great to give CFL, that's little time in the spotlight, especially this week of all times. I don't think so. I don't know. There's like the part of me that wants maybe, but no. Adam, what do you think, man? I don't know.
Well, as one of the teams looking for a quarterback, I mean, we'd, I think, welcome our new Tom Brady with open arms and welcome him to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And it's never going to happen. I mean, it would be awesome if it did, and it would be just an amazing sight to behold, seeing Tom Brady walk out at Griffith Stadium to pretty much like a sold-out stadium because, every person would be there. They could charge tickets to see it. It would be a frenzy. I still remember the time when Vince Young came to Saskatchewan for a little bit, and that was a frenzy. So this would just be mind-shattering. But you know what? It's never going to happen. So, you know what? Cool idea. Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
I mean, I hear there is a house in Regina that might be for sale, right? Bo Levi Mitchell's house might be back up on the market after supposedly, like you told me the other day, he legitimately bought a house in Regina. I guess maybe under anticipation he's going to go to the Riders this offseason. And then his rights got traded to the Ticats. So we'll continue to see what's happening with that throughout the offseason. But yeah, this Tom Brady news, I thought it was interesting because the tweet came out. And then I think I retweeted it from the show account with something along the lines of, I hear there's a house in Regina available. And the tweet was deleted right away. But I still saw it many times around on social media. So I don't know what happened there necessarily. But it's not bad publicity, right? Like if you got, arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the history of football talking about the CFL and that blowing up everywhere. Yeah, I think that's good publicity for the league, or it's certainly not bad publicity. And there's different levels of things. You get NFL players all the time coming over here and saying like, oh yeah, I can run all over the CFL and, really just basically use that to get my way back to the NFL. I think this one's a little bit different because Tom Brady should be able to come to the CFL and just light it up. He does it in the NFL. Maybe not as much right now this season, but he's the caliber of player that if he did come to the CFL, I would expect to light up the league. So I don't think this is the similar case that we normally get of like, oh yeah, some, maybe NFL has been, or a guy whose career's gone downhill is going to come up here, run all over us in Canada and get back to the NFL. I still don't think this is happening either, but I don't think it's bad publicity for the league.
No, it's perfectly fine for the league. I mean, let's face it, it gets the word out about the CFL, and somebody might just happen to look up, hey, what's the CFL? You never know. In the Deep South or somewhere else or in Tampa Bay, they never maybe even heard of the CFL, so why not? I mean, it's better than nothing. The only thing I can also say, though, if he actually does come to Canada, and particularly the Riders, I'm sorry, but 12 is not available. So don't even think about it. It ain't happening. Trey?
No, just seeing Chris's comment. He's actually not played in Canada. It's the 4 games, 2 in London, 1 in Mexico, and 1 in England, or 1 in Germany now. So he's never actually had the chance to play here yet, which I thought maybe he did with the Bills playing in Toronto. You would think maybe the Patriots would be a team that would come up here, but no, not yet. So that's the only other real country he can check off his list right now, unless he goes really down the tiers and plays in some of those European or leagues or in Japan or something. But Yeah, I don't know. It's his age was one thing. Sorry, I'm reading comments sometimes. It throws me off. His age throws me off. Maybe if this was 5 years ago, I'd be more, or kind of looking into it. Do you really want a 46, 47-year-old Tom Brady coming in the league next year? Like, yeah, the name power is great, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would be shocked if this happens one day. But fun little news round to start off the Grey Cup week. I thought, especially after the Bo Levi Mitchell trade news the day before, there was a lot of CFL out there in the media coming into this week, which is exciting because this is the most important week of the year, arguably, for the league. It's championship week. You want people talking about it. But let's get into talking about players that are in the league and are going to be in the league going forward. The CFL Awards show just ended, I think, a bit ago, or it's still going. The CFL has announced its award winners. We had the finalists, come out a couple of weeks ago. We discussed all of those at the time. But now we have the official award winners. Do one of you guys have them up in front of you here and want to run through them for us quickly, and then we'll get reactions on them?
Yeah, I have them right here. My Twitter just refreshed. Here we go. Yeah, so we want to start the first one. Most outstanding rookie goes to Winnipeg Blue Bombers Dalton Schoen. So what are you guys' thoughts on that one?
I mean, to me, it was an obvious choice. I mean, to me, I think they said that this was the widest margin that anybody's ever won this award, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like 44 votes to 4. So, I mean, 4 guys must have maybe felt that Filippo was more deserving. I'm not sure how, but okay. The guy just dominated the year. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, well deserved. Right?
There would have been riots in the streets if Dalton Schoen didn't win that one. People are passionate about what they believe in when it comes to CFL talent, but I don't think you're going to see much of an argument from anybody from any fan base across the league that Dalton Schoen was the winner of Rookie of the Year.
Sorry, we'll move on here. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Lorenzo Malden of the Ottawa Red Blacks.
Again,
Adam?
I probably would have maybe more leaned towards Sean Lemon just because.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, Sean Lemon, I think, was my choice because I think that he maybe gave a little bit more to the Calgary Stampeders. However, Lorenzo Malden, the 5th, had a very, very good season as well. Actually, 4th, sorry. Had a very good season as well. And on an Ottawa team that really kind of lacked offensive power, he was out there a lot. So, no, it was a good choice as well. Ryan?
I believe, and I'm just double checking. Yeah, Lorenzo Malden, all the talk around Sean Lemon was the number of sacks, forced fumbles, and that he put up. Malden put up 3 more. He put up the most in the league in terms of sacks at 17, and that's on an Ottawa team that did not look good very many times this year. So as much as Sean Lemon's name got out there in the media, I think he played on a better team here, and I think putting up a performance like this on a team like the Red Blacks and the struggles they had this season. Huge offseason acquisition for Sean Burke, bringing over his guy. I think he was his guy in Hamilton, brought him over to Ottawa. And yeah, that paid off very well in the first year there for both of them. So I agree with this one as well.
All right, in the 2022 Most Outstanding Special Teams Player of Adams Saskatchewan Roughriders. You got one good thing this year you can be happy about. That's Mario Alford. Let's start with Ryan. What are your thoughts on this one?
Who was he up against on the other side? Was it Chandler Worthy? So interestingly, one Montreal return man that got traded to Saskatchewan against one Montreal return man that got traded from Toronto earlier in the season, I believe, or was let go and picked up. Yeah, I like that one. I think Mario Alford was the most outstanding player on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Maybe Darnell Sankey. He did have a lot of tackles to his credit. But Mario Alford made a huge impact on that team and was explosive. And as you guys corrected me, a week or two ago, was the only one other than Janarian Grant to pick up a punt return touchdown this season. So 2 good returners. I will not surprised Mario Alford won that one. Adam?
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised either. I mean, Mario Alford essentially was the outstanding player for the Rough Riders. Whenever we needed a big play, I mean, there was Mario Alford when we needed a spark. Unfortunately, the spark turned into nothing most days, but he was on a tough team and he played very well. Chandler Worthy can say the same thing. I mean, he had 2 returns against the Riders in the one game against Montreal in Montreal this year, and no, he had a good season as well. To me, Mario Alford, though, again, seeing the team that he had around him, yeah, definitely worthy of this award. And by the way, Trey, this is the second award that our first award the Riders won tonight. The Riders did win a second one.
Oh, did they? I missed which one? Oh, we'll talk about it later because up next is Offensive Lineman of the Year that I have here goes to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Stanley Bryant. And I think this offensive line such a tough one. Like, how do you? There's no real stat unless you go like sacks against or something. But then it's still hard to give it to one guy. So to me, it was you're going to give it to the best offense or one of the best teams in the league, right, Adam?
Yeah, no, well worthy of it. I mean, Stanley Bryant has done so much again for this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team. He's one of their veterans and one of their rocks on the corner and on the side, and he's always there. He doesn't seem to ever get beat on a play. So to me, yeah, this one also is probably maybe a little bit more of a no-brainer, I think. Not saying that the other nominee there didn't have really a great season. He did too. But no, it was Stanley Bryant.
Yeah, of the 2 nominees, Stanley Bryant makes more sense to me than Brandon Revenberg, given the struggles of the Hamilton's offense and Dane Evans at quarterback this year. And I feel like the offensive line didn't do a great job of, helping them settle in there in that offense. I would agree Stanley Bryant was the better option of the 2. I still don't know if he was the best offensive lineman in the West Division. I don't even think he was the best offensive lineman on his team. I think that was Jamarcus Hardrick. But given the options available, yeah, Stanley Bryant is always going to carry a heavy favor of the votes. And you're right, Trey, it's tricky because there's no stats available. But I almost actually, in a weird way, like that award more because I think oftentimes we look at stats sheets as validation for the quality of a player. And there are a lot of good players out there that go unnoticed because they're doing different things that are key to winning football games that don't show up on the stats sheet. So, shout out to the offensive linemen. They don't get enough credit.
No, they do not. Do not. On to Coach of the Year, Mr. Beard and Cargo Shorts. O'Shea wins it for the back-to-back year. Again, this is another interesting one because, like, how do you judge it? Do you judge it on overall team success? Do you base it off of success from last year? It's real hard to go from here. Who is the Eastern candidate?
Ryan Dinwiddie.
Oh, Dinwiddie? Yeah, I guess between the two, I think you give it to Osh over Dinwiddie. But, it's an interesting one where I'm surprised. I almost would rather, maybe not all 9, but some categories maybe don't do an East-West until, like, the night of and kind of leave it. Because, especially with a 9-team league, sometimes we have this thing where there's 4 guys all deserving it of the West Division and not necessarily in the East. So, but anyway, I think Osh is a good choice. Ryan, what do you feel about Osh getting it again?
Yeah, it's certainly an impressive season for the team. There's no doubt about that. And he's a large part of that, finding a way to get his guys ready for almost any game except the ones going into the bye weeks, which were the only downers here for them. Mike O'Shea is the class of the league when it comes to coaching. And so he deserves Coach of the Year, I would say. But I also really got to give credit to Ryan Dinwiddie, and I could see an argument for why he may have deserved it as well. The Argos had so many injuries on their defense this year and still had one of the top defenses out there, I feel like. They had a lot of rotating pieces in there. And he did a lot of good things. And I think he improved a lot as a coach from last year as well. But at the end of the day, O'Shea is the class of the league. No doubt about that, in my opinion. Adam?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, best coach. I mean, keeps his guys playing for 60 minutes, has to get them to focus because, they get a lot of buys with the West Final instead of just in that last little bit. I mean, you could have expected a lesser coach to probably let his team have a little bit of rest, and all of a sudden they're rusty. And the Bombers did not come out rusty against the BC Lions in the West Final. And well before that, I mean, a 15-3 record's nothing to sneeze at. He's had a great season overall. And you're right, nothing to say wrong about Ryan Dinwiddie as well. He's improved his team. They look better than they did last year. It seems like McLeod Bethel-Thompson really does work well with Ryan Dinwiddie and the rest of the offense there in Toronto. And I believe that, he was a worthy nominee for the East, but that beard was just too majestic. It had to be Mike O'Shea.
I'm just going to flip it through Twitter. I'm going to change it just real quick here. Bo Levi, because again, and Richard made the comment about Bo. He's posing with guys that already have his jersey in Hamilton. And he's saying he might not even sign there. Like, that just seems like the biggest FU ever if he doesn't sign in Hamilton now. Like,
there's also Rider fans out there with Bo Levi jerseys too, and he's been taking pictures with them. So
maybe he'll take $70,000 signing bonus and then retire. I hear that's a thing to do.
Oh, I've never heard of that option before.
Yeah, but okay. I just opened Twitter and I was like, that's the first thing that popped up. I was like, what's that guy doing? Because okay. Anyway, we'll move on. Most outstanding Canadian. I to some people, no surprise. It's the whole how many games did he play debate for me, but of course it's Captain Canada here, Nathan Rourke. I know what Ryan's going to say. He's the chairman and founder and CEO and chief financial officer of the Nathan Rourke Hall of Fame Club. So let's go to Adam first on this one.
I'm right with Ryan, honestly, because the guy there was just absolutely dominant in every one of his games, minus maybe the West Final, and that I think we know why he wasn't. Looked absolutely amazing any game he played earlier in the year. No shot to Curly Gittens Jr. He had a great year for the Toronto Argonauts as well. I mean, you could make a very good case, and most years it would be Curly Gittens Jr., just because the way he played this year. But when you've got a quarterback that's Canadian that can absolutely dominate in the CFL and just look like he was doing it with ease and having fun out there and being a great role model for this BC Lions and just in general for the area, there's no doubt in my mind that Nathan Rourke was the guy that you had to have there. Ryan, I'm sure I know your answer on why this is.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you don't have a podcast and you use your platform to just hype up your own CFL fantasy abilities, what's the point? Remember in our fantasy draft preseason when we had to pick 2 Canadians to be on our roster? And, I have the West Division nominee and the East Division nominee at the start of the year and all season long. Yeah, Nathan Rourke, Curly Gittens Jr. Truly believe these are 2 of the top Canadian players in the entire CFL. And they were the rightful nominees here. I know there was talk Nick Dembski. Nick Dembski, I think, could have been worthy of a nominee. Keon Schaefer-Baker in Saskatchewan had a great season there as well. Brady Oliveira rushed for 1,000 yards. I can think of a number of good Canadian players that made a positive impact on the league. And I feel like we're getting more and more of those guys, which is great to see as well. But Nathan Rourke, to me, was the best player out there. If he would have played all season, I think he would have been the front runner for MOP, most outstanding player yet as well. I think most outstanding Canadian is the least we can give him here. And for me, the big thing with it also is who has the greatest impact on the future of Canadian talent in the CFL. And Gittens Jr. sure showed up a good season here, but there's no question it's Nathan Rourke, in my opinion. Trey, do you agree with the choice of Rourke here, or are you on a different page?
I want to see the actual outline of what most outstanding Canadian means. That's kind of my issue. My issue is with the games played, and I understand what you guys are coming from, that he did a lot more in 9-10 games than some players have done all year. And that's for sure why I didn't give him MOP, because to me, to be the most outstanding, you need to play, right? You kind of need, that's the difference between outstanding and valuable, right? That's that key word, because if an MVP, to be the valuable to your team, you need to be available to be valuable. And I don't know, do you have to be available to be outstanding? I don't know. You got to go back to wherever that big book probably says of what the definitions are. Sorry, who was the Eastern one again? I'm sure you said it.
Gittins Jr.
Gittins Jr. Now, I guess you have to give it to Rourke over him. And I think someone in the chat just made a point. You might have to give it to him anyway, because he might not be in the CFL next year, right? So you might not have a shot to win anything like that again. And kind of a fair, you couldn't win the cup, boy, but here's the MOC, right? So I guess that's the best you can do. And last but not least, unless I missed any, did I miss any?
The Jake Garadier Leadership Award, I just wanted to bring that one up, is number 67, Dan Clark. So we got our second award nomination for the guy, and well-deserved, to be honest with you. I mean, the guy has persevered through anything that gets him down. The guy went and broke his leg and still came back in, 10 weeks? That's amazing. The guy's been a full car crash that he probably shouldn't have walked away from and was playing the next week. So, I mean, the guy is does persevere over a lot of obstacles. So, well worthy of a win there for Dan Clark.
Yeah, and just to throw this, just again saw on Twitter from friend of the show, Derek Taylor, who's been on our show, says Stanley Bryant's fourth. This is his fourth most outstanding lineman. He's the first player to win 4. So, got to give him a shout out as well for that. And of course, the MOP goes to Zach Collaros for back-to-back years. And I'm not too shocked about that one. I just wondered if maybe some of the stats for Bethel, Tom, because he was the East one, right? I'm out of it today.
It was actually Eugene Lewis.
Oh,
which surprised me. I think Adam, you picked Lewis to be your East nominee for this award, but I feel like the rest of us went. I think I went Tim White. Trey, you and Mike may have gone Bethel Thompson. I think
maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, because I guess Zach would get it. It's hard to win against a quarterback in that category, right? So you have to be really extra exceptional, and I don't think we had many guys. We had a lot of great performances this year. We didn't have that one guy who really went above and beyond in his position, except for maybe Nathan Rourke, but unfortunately only played half the year, right? Adam?
Yeah, if this was the MVP of the year, I would still be arguing Eugene Lewis over Zach Collaros, because I think Zach Collaros was not the most valuable player on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think Dalton Schoen was, because without him, that team could have had some serious troubles early. If it wasn't for Dalton Schoen getting those touchdowns every game, essentially. But that being said, I mean, Zach Collaros is definitely an outstanding player and one of the most outstanding in the league for sure. Why I went with Eugene Lewis over in the East nominees was because there was a lot of times that he bailed those Montreal Alouettes out of a lot of tough holes. But again, is he the most outstanding player probably in the league? I don't think so. I think Zach Collaros probably is, just because of the record and because of what you've seen and the production out of Zach Collaros. That being said, well done for Zach Collaros. I think this is his second in a row, right?
Yep, second in a row for Collaros, and quite the turnaround after that big injury in Saskatchewan and not knowing what is, and really a downward slide for his career, it seemed before that, not knowing what was going to all happen to him, gets traded to Toronto, gets traded to Winnipeg, and now, back-to-back most outstanding player nominees or winners, and potentially 3 straight Grey Cups. We're truly living in the Zach Collaros era here. And in this matchup against Eugene Lewis, no doubt in my mind, it does go to Zach Collaros. I'm with you, Adam. I see argument also for Dalton Schoen should have been the Bombers nominee and the West nominee here, because I think he was more outstanding in his field. But Collaros, I think, is a great choice here as well, and a well-deserving winner of most outstanding player this season. I think that does it for all of our CFL awards here, correct? I think we went through them all here. I just want to run through one question here real quick from Richard over in the chat. He had a good point here. Was there any CFL All-Stars that surprised you? There were 8 Calgary players and a bunch of others in all of that. I'll put this one. I felt very surprised that Mario Alford, who was a special teams player of the year, for most outstanding, didn't get an All-Star nomination at all. I was quite surprised about that one myself. Any ones that surprised you guys over there? To be honest, I don't remember who was on the original fake All-Star list and who was on the correct version of one to weigh in on it right now. But We definitely did talk about it, go through kind of the lists a couple of weeks ago when they first came out. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that one, I recommend going back to our reactions in the moment on that one. Any major one for you that's popped up since then, Trey?
Well, just looking at the list right now, I found it's. I don't know. I don't really have a specific name. I'm just surprised you don't have a guy like Willie Jefferson or Big Hill or something like that. Again, because it's that 15-3 best team. But again, it's that argument: who would you take off to throw them in there? The guys on there, I think, mostly deserve it.
Oh, they released a CFL All-Star list. Okay, I have not seen the CFL All-Star list.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too surprised about it. There's no names on there that I'm like, you shouldn't be on there. But like, you can make an argument for almost any guy, and most guys in this league could be on it at any, especially the starters. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, and I could even make an argument probably for Darnell Sankey on the list. I mean, he had a great season as well, had the most tackles in the whole league. Not on the list. So, I mean, Larry Dean had a great year. But again, those guys there, you looked at the record of Saskatchewan. It was, well, we don't want to talk about that anymore. So, yeah, you could go and argue it up and down the whole thing. For East and West All-Stars and for CFL All-Stars, you could probably argue a point for almost anybody. But yeah, it's what it is, and I think that they made some pretty good choices in the list.
You make the good point, though, how Janarian Grant got the special teams All-Star, but then Alfred was the most outstanding special teams player. Like, it probably all depends on who votes for what.
It's probably, I'm guessing it's different groups that vote for it, right? Or there is also the distinct possibility that, okay, well, we're going to give this one guy the nod, but this guy also had an outstanding season, so we'll give him the All-Star nod if we're not going to give him the divisional award, right? So he still gets something out of it.
According to the CFL website, it says 27 All-Stars were selected by 47 voters comprising of members of the Football Reporters of Canada and the league's head coaches, as well as submissions through the All-Star fan vote. So that's what this was for. So
I just hope this is the official list and we're not going to see a correction come out in a day or two.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the CFLPA also has their All-Stars that they're going to list, I think, tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So
it's also really hard to take a 9-team league and then, 5 receivers and say these are the 5 best receivers in the league. Like, there's going to be people shunned with. So, the answer to is there anyone you're surprised didn't make the list? Not really, just because there's so few spots available that there's always going to be guys that you're going to think are snubbed.
I got a real quick shocker. Alex Manoah should have been the Cy Young AL Cy winner. If we'll throw that in there. That was just announced this week.
Baseball?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was one of the 3 finalists that he lost out to Verlander. No, yeah. Verlander. It's okay. Verlander will come to Toronto next year.
All right, let's get into.
Hey, let's move on. We'll talk about something else. I can talk about sports all day. Sorry, guys.
We might have to do some baseball shows in the off season, but let's get into the reason for the season, as they call it. The reason we're all here today is to preview the Grey Cup, the final game of the year. Toronto, Winnipeg, Grey Cup 109 in Saskatchewan. Game takes place Sunday. It should be a great game. Always a fun experience and game. Let's start off with, there's a lot of interesting storylines for this Winnipeg-Toronto matchup, or storylines from this week, just on player health, I think, is a big one potentially as well. What are the major storylines that intrigue you guys the most when we're watching this game this weekend? Adam, let's start with you.
Well, I think one of the major storylines, and I know, Trey knows what I'm going to go with right away here, is the health of Zach Collaros. Came in last week, and I know I heard Bomber fans everywhere. Oh, he's fine. He's totally fine. No problem whatsoever. Look at him walk. He's fine. Oh, they let him into the media. No, he's fine. Everybody's saying how great and fine Zach Collaros is. Look at him walk off the plane. He's fine. And then all of a sudden on Wednesday morning, when the first practice happens for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Zach Collaros isn't practicing. It's Drew Brown's with the ones. Okay. Well, hey, maybe a vet day. Never know. So all of a sudden they go and they have their closed practice today, and the GM, I believe it is, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Wade Miller, goes and says, "Oh, yeah, Zach didn't practice today, but he's fine. It's just veteran things, and don't worry about it. It's fine." So you know what? I've heard this story before. I'm sure that TSN has been covering feet more so much in this whole offseason that it's almost a fetish for him by now. I mean, to me, it's insane. I mean, I don't, you don't need to sugarcoat it here. Zach Collaros clearly has some sort of ankle injury. I don't know how bad it is because I'm not a doctor. I'm not the Winnipeg Blue Bombers doctor, obviously, and that's going to be probably so locked up in Fort Knox that is not going to get out there how bad his foot injury is until after the Grey Cup. But he's clearly got something up with him. That's going to be one of the major storylines going into this. And I know there's people already saying it. Is Zach Collaros going to play the Grey Cup? To me, I'd be stunned if he doesn't. They've got so many good treatments nowadays that they'll freeze his foot, not just in Saskatchewan because of the weather. They'll actually freeze his foot. And he'll try to play on it. I'm certain of it. But yeah, it's got to be looked at. And I mean, TSN is going to keep covering this one here, I think, until 5 o'clock, until the Grey Cup starts. Ryan?
Yeah, Zach Collaros is going to play. There's no doubt about it in my mind that he's going to play this weekend. And not going to lie, the first time he started limping off the field, I did chuckle at the irony of it a little bit, that I was like, hey, it's the Kevin Glenn special of the division finals injury. You know, is he going to play in the Grey Cup? Against Ryan Dinwiddie, nonetheless, which is intriguing. But he's going to play. I also think that if he is all of a sudden not good to go early on in the game, I wouldn't see the Bombers having an issue going to Drew Brown or Dakota Prukop potentially if they need to, and they feel like he's going to be out. If the Bombers feel they're going to be able to, get it done, which I think they have a lot of confidence in their backups to do so, but no doubt about it, you're putting Zach Collaros out there. And if Chris Streveler can play the Grey Cup on a broken foot, Zach Collaros can as well. Not going to lie, though, I feel like it has been a little hypocritical, all the talk and you know what, Nathan Rourke is not going to be ready to go for the playoffs because of his ankle injury, but then Collaros injures himself and limps off, and immediately he's fine. There is some irony in that. Trey, you were riled up a little by Adam's comments this week. What do you think?
Well, things have since changed because Adam's also given me a Grey Cup ticket, so I got to really watch my mouth here. I don't know if you can untransfer anything on Ticketmaster, but I don't want to try to find that out. But actually, you took the words from me. I was like, I believe there was another quarterback in blue and gold that had a worse. Bowen's tough compared to Twisting, I guess. I don't know which one's worse, but and things were done and he played through it. And honestly, I would almost say it's almost worse for Streveler because of what he was going through. Like, he wasn't sitting there in the pocket passing. He was running for hard-earned yards. So I'm not too worried about it. It gave Drew Brown a couple reps out there. He probably did nothing but practice victory formation. That's the only thing he'll be used for on Sunday anyway, when the Bombers are up by, 30 or 40. And then Drew Brown will go in or Prukop, or doesn't even matter. I'll go play a quarterback when we're up by 30, and I don't think I'll blow the lead. But I don't know. It's something fun to talk about. It is what it is, and yeah, he's got to play. If he doesn't play, that would be the biggest... What's the rules with the depth chart? Like, that probably comes out tomorrow or Saturday. Like, if he's not playing, they can't put him number one unless they put game time decision or something. Like, I don't know what they could with betting and everything and fantasy and all that stuff. That would be so dirty if they pulled him.
Don't trust the depth charts. We've seen games like this many times.
Yeah,
Chris Jones, hello.
Isn't that how Nathan Rourke got a start in the league?
Yeah, pretty much.
It actually is. Yeah.
So my point is, I wouldn't even be shocked if you see Drew Brown as number one, but Toronto's defense knows that it's going to be Zach Collaros playing. So,
yeah, no, like I say before, if Zach Collaros isn't playing, count me stunned, because there's no way that you miss a Grey Cup game. Although, hey, we've seen weirder things. I mean, remember that warm up a couple years ago when Ottawa Henry Burris was warming up, ended up doing something to his shoulder or something, and Yeah, that was were some interesting times during that Grey Cup. I can't remember. I think it was against Calgary, was it? I would think. Anyways, another neat storyline that I can tell you about in this one here as well, folks. I think it's the return of Andrew Harris to play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a Grey Cup. I know a lot of guys have talked about this already. Andrew Harris, of course, wins 2 Grey Cups over with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, wins the most outstanding Canadian. I think he won the most outstanding player, I believe, as well. Has just kind of really dominated Grey Cup games as of late for the last 2 anyways. And also can seem to dominate somehow in Mosaic Stadium. He likes that stadium. He likes running in that stadium. Has had some good yardage either mostly against the Rough Riders. So that's going to be probably one of the bigger storylines coming out of this. And Andrew Harris is back. He's healthy. He's been well rested now. Didn't have a whole lot in East Final that he needed to do, but he also has AJ Ouellette right beside him in case he needs a break. How much does Andrew Harris factor into this one, Trey?
Oh, he'll factor in a lot, but I don't know. I'm torn on this one. I could see it going one of 2 ways. Either he gets like 2 touches and barely plays, or he's going to go for like what Chris says, 3 touchdowns and win MOP of the game again, or something. I don't think there's a middle for him. I think he's going to either dominate. I think this game's going to be dominated by the running game on either side, and you're going to have 2 Winnipeg boys rumble and tumble, and with AJ Ouellette from Ohio. Like, you know what I mean? That's what it's going to be. Was it minus 10-ish? It looks like on Sunday. It's going to be a little bit of running it's going to be a lot of running the ball. I thought I saw minus 10-ish at some point. It's supposed to feel like, but I could be wrong. And then throw in Zach Collaros' injury. Bethel Thompson isn't exactly the most straight shooter. It's going to be a lot of running. Andrew Harris should have his opportunity to play in the snow once again in Mosaic. So I think it'll be good. Ryan?
I'm so excited for this Brady Oliveira, Andrew Harris matchup. And I'm so pumped we get this in the Grey Cup because these are 2 guys that are going to be running hard the entire game to prove that they're right, so to say. You know, Andrew Harris wants to prove to the Bombers that they should have kept him around. And Brady Oliveira's got to be out here to prove that, no, you made the right decision, which I think he has proved very well during the season with his 1,000-yard rushing total. And the fact that he was healthy all year long. But these are 2 guys that, you know, have a lot to play for. Obviously, 2 guys out there trying to win their 3rd straight championship. And maybe it wasn't 3 straight for Oliveira. I can't remember if he was fully with the club for the first one. But either way, trying to win 3 straight championships, Harris versus the Bombers. Juicy storyline for me. I'm excited to see which one's going to come out more prominently involved in the rushing game. I think you're right, Trey, that Ouellette might take some of the load off of Harris, but you could also see them just using him over and over again in that game as well. Other interesting matchups, I think, in this week we've got Brandon Banks versus the Bombers for the 3rd straight year, 2 with Hamilton, now over in Toronto. This is a guy that great career, long career here. I don't think he has a Grey Cup to his name. You know, there's been some great players in the league's history that, have never ended up with one. I can think of a couple here in Winnipeg, unfortunately. Brandon Banks is currently in that category. He lost in 2014 to Calgary. Now he's lost 2 straight here. Comes over to the enemy in the Argos and now has to face the Bombers again. Will he have an impact in this game? We talked about Andrew Harris already. Probably one of the more absurd storylines is that Jagarrett Davis is playing in his 6th straight Grey Cup in 6 years in the league. He went to 3 straight with Calgary, where he won 1 of 3, I believe. Then he went to Hamilton, lost the last 2 there. Then now he's in Toronto trying to win here. So 6 straight Grey Cup, only 1 win in the last 5 for Jagarrett Davis. He's got to be hungry here to win one this week, doesn't he, Trey?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, that rivals like what the Buffalo Bills going like 4 straight times without winning. Like, you know, it definitely, even though it's a 9-team league, we see Hamilton's been, 20-some years without winning. Winnipeg went to 29. You can have a long time before your franchise wins it. And jumping around teams even makes it harder. You got to feel for the guy. You know, he's always there. It's almost like that bad luck omen. I feel like there was a case like that in the NHL or MLB or something too, where a player had a few in a row where he was on the losing team, and you just got it. When it comes to people like me who bet on the game, that's one of those spooky little omens that you see where you're like, well, maybe Toronto isn't going to win this year, right, Adam?
Well, and you look also, Brandon Banks is the same way. I mean, he's been with Hamilton Tiger Cats forever. Lost the one against Calgary, lost the two against Winnipeg. Just hasn't had no luck when it comes to a Grey Cup game. That might just add extra fuel to the fire for all we know. I mean, Jaguar Davis obviously would like to probably walk away with a Grey Cup ring. Very well has a possibility of doing that this year. And, Brandon Banks ain't getting much younger. I mean, he's in the same point where, hey, it would be nice to walk away a Grey Cup champion. You never know. Maybe if he does win this one, that might be it. Another cool little thing that I was going to bring up here was lots of major storylines, but one thing that won't be a major storyline will be the weather. Predicting right now -2 in Regina, which is almost too warm for these guys, as most of the
shorts weather, man. For
exactly,
me,
it's shorts weather. So to me, I mean, Winnipeg fans, I mean, you guys can pretty much just wear a jersey and don't wear anything else, essentially. So should be great weather for the game. By the looks of things, 15 to 25 kilometer winds, so no serious winds in Saskatchewan. Overall, hey, not bad. So other storylines that we wanted to talk about in this one.
I have a real quick one here. Ryan Dinwiddie coaching his first Grey Cup against the team that he played one game for, and it was a Grey Cup, right? You want to talk about the Kevin?
At least 4.
Did he? Did he play more for us after that?
I remember a thrilling victory over the Calgary Stampeders in the
after that Grey Cup loss. I don't know if I actually watched the year after. I can't be honest, because that one was so terrible. Childhood memory.
Brilliant Grey Cup.
I remember. Yeah. I don't honestly. Yeah. But that's the kind of an interesting thing here. Where, coming to, again, in a 9-team league, there's only so many teams you can play, but he could have coached anybody, and he coached Toronto, and now he's got a shot at beating the team that he couldn't win for, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that it actually is in 07, it was Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan in Toronto. This time it's Winnipeg and Toronto in Saskatchewan. And Ryan Dinwiddie's in both of those for some reason. As long as James Johnson doesn't show up for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and intercept them 4 times, I think we'll probably be okay. Toronto might be okay. Ryan?
Chris in the chat mentions you were talking about a hockey example there. Yeah, Marian Hossa, I think, traded teams a couple times, went 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. And, I wonder what the odds makers would put the odds at. If the Bombers beat the Argos, what are the odds that Brandon Banks and Jaguar Davis pull a Corey Perry and come over to Winnipeg next season? Lose 2 straight Grey Cups with different teams to the same team. You can't beat them, join them.
You really think they'd go 4 in a row, though? Even as a Bomber fan, 3 in a row is pretty tough.
As Adam, I'm sure, would tell me, Tampa Bay did not win 3 in a row. So
no, they did not.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
No, that's an interesting point. I would wonder if they would maybe go to a team like BC or maybe Winnipeg or something like that. That's interesting. Yeah.
Any other final storylines here before we get into positional matchups, or should we go straight into that?
Let's get into the matchups, I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, positional matchups here. We did it the past couple rounds of playoffs. Let's do it here quickly in this one as well. We've talked about a lot of factors. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball here and talk about who we each have with the edge for this. I got to give the offensive nod to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think Toronto has the pieces there to be a high-powered offense. I just don't think they can put it in the end zone effectively, and they've struggled to do that all season long. The rushing game, Andrew Harris boosts that, but Brady Oliveira has been pretty consistent from, week, I want to say 5 or 6 onwards. He had some early season struggles. Zach Collaros just won MOP. Dalton Schoen was the league's leading receiver. There's a ton of weapons there for the Bombers as well. I give the edge to Winnipeg on offense here. Trey?
No, I agree. I give it to Winnipeg. My issue is we've seen the Winnipeg's offense stall at times of this year. So I think it's going to come down to the defense, which we'll talk about next. I think the offense is maybe not super important unless Winnipeg or Toronto can go off and, have the performance of the year. But yeah, I'd have to give it to Winnipeg on this one, Adam.
Yeah, I've got to go with Winnipeg as well. The reason being essentially is the receivers to me are fairly evenly matched. The running backs are fairly evenly matched. The quarterbacks, yeah, probably advantage Colaros, but the offensive line, I think that the offensive line in Winnipeg is more veteran. They've been used to this game. They've played this Grey Cup a few times. The Toronto Argonauts, I mean, they haven't been there yet. And I think an inexperienced offensive line, you never know, that could cause procedure calls if there's a lot of Winnipeg fans in the crowd. I'm going to go advantage offense to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Next, we take a look at the defense for these two teams. Let's go back to you here, Adam. Who do you give the edge to on defense?
I'm going to give my defensive edge to the Toronto Argonauts. Here's my reasoning. They are the number 2 ranked defense in the league. They have guys like Ryan Phillips. They've got McManus. They've got all sorts of weapons on that team that can either pick off balls. They can go and make that defensive line is a lot bigger than what the BC Lions defensive line was. This is one that can push through and possibly make some plays happen and make Zach Colaros get a little more uncomfortable and out of that pocket where he don't like to be out of that pocket. So to me, I think that the Toronto Argonauts are the bigger defense. They aren't maybe the most flashiest or the ones rated the highest or looked at as the flashiest. But no, to me, Toronto's the better defense. So I'm going to go with the Argonauts.
Yeah, just to save time, just say whatever Adam said. I'll go with Toronto, Ryan.
I think I'm going Toronto as well. Interestingly, both of these teams bottom 3 in the league in sacks or close to that this season. Edmonton had the least at 35. Winnipeg had 36. Toronto and Montreal both had 37. So not a whole lot of pressure on the quarterback. Toronto did have 29 interceptions this year, which is ridiculous because the next highest was 19. So they made a lot of big plays there. I've been touting their defense all season long. I've had question marks on the Bombers side. Then I also think about how the Bombers have so many big name pieces that have just maybe underperformed a little bit all season, and they come to play when the games matter the most, it seems, right? So I think this one's closer to a tie than I originally thought, but I got to give it to the Argos here, the nod on defense as well. Let's go special teams here. On one side, we've got Mark Leggio doing the kicking. On the other side, we've got Boris Beatty. In the punt return, kick returns section, Janarian Grant, and whoever the returner of the day for the Argos is. A number of guys have rotated through this season. I think Jeremiah Hadel was the last one. I'll double check last week's depth chart here quickly, but Javon Leake, is the current return man, it seems, for the Argos. Trey, let's go to you first here on special teams. I think I know where you're potentially going, but who do you give the edge to?
Returns, I'll go with Winnipeg, but kicking after legs again, I'll go with Toronto, man. So I think, yeah, that's what I'll just stick with that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Janarian Grant, he's with the field conditions, he's always one little move away from getting to the house, and then I can't, with a good conscience, give Leggio any advantage right now. I heard that they got the other punter in at practice for the Blue Bombers, but I don't think punting was Leggio's problem, so we'll see. Adam?
I'm exactly the same way as you are, Trey. I look at this one here and I say that Janarian Grant would have been the West nominee for special teams if it wasn't for a guy named Mario Alfred over in Saskatchewan, essentially. He is a very good punt and kickoff returner, field goal returner as well when it comes to that point. And so to me, it's advantage Winnipeg in the return game. And let's face it, that's a critical spot because if they get good field position to start it off, that's a big advantage for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Kicking, no, you're right. I mean, Boris Beatty to me seems like the more reliable kicker at this point. Mark Leggio, I don't know what it is with him. I mean, he's still a good kicker and he still had a good year, but it just seems like one game he just kind of takes it off and takes it easy. Last week, unfortunately, it was against the BC Lions. Had a few missed converts, which you can't miss converts in a Grey Cup. So if he gets a little better here, to me, I think Winnipeg could maybe even this up a little bit more. But right now, yeah, it's Boris Beatty for me with the Argonauts. So I guess a statistical tie, right?
I give the edge to Winnipeg here. As much as we talk about being nervous about Mark Leggio making a kick, the kicker with the lowest kicking percentage in the CFL this season is Boris Beatty at 78%. Mark Leggio has a better completion rate than Boris Beatty. He's at 82%. It's not much of a difference. He's also attempted a lot less kicks and he's missed more converts. So I don't think there's really a winner either way. Both of these kickers are, not the sharpest at this point, I think, in the season. But I do think the return game of Janarian Grant gives a big edge towards the Bombers here on the special teams side. We may have kind of already talked about this one. The other facet of this is the coaching side. And, well, they went head-to-head tonight in the awards show. Ryan Dinwiddie for the Argos and Mike O'Shea for the Bombers. Now, taking into account not just these guys, but the entire coaching staff, the coaching schemes of the teams, who do you guys give the edge to in the coaching category? Adam?
When you look at absolutely everything, I mean, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers still, to me, get it. I mean, Buck Pierce has called a great game this year in the offensive side of the football. Seems to make sure that there's some good creative plays to get out to Zach Collaros and really can use all of his weapons, including Nick Dembski, who will have to be a big part of this one again, going either out of the backfield or going around, doing jet sweeps, doing all sorts of weird things that only Nick Dembski seems to be able to do. So to me, that's an advantage for the offensive side of the football and the defensive side of the football. Both were pretty decent this year. However, Richie Hall has that annoying, boring, let him run the ball down the field quite a ways, and then eventually, we'll stop him. But you know what? For some reason, it works for Winnipeg. The 3 losses kind of prove that. So you know what? I'm not too worried about the Winnipeg's defense coaching scheme. I think they'll be okay. And again, nobody can get a team ready more, I think, than Mike O'Shea. Mike O'Shea is always preparing. Even when he was doing the award ceremony tonight, he went and he said, hey, thanks to my guys that are still working in the back right now, getting things ready to go while I go and accept award for a few minutes. I mean, the guy never quits. So to me, I think it's advantage coaching for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Trey?
Yeah, I agree. And, this actually just was Googling some stuff here. So found an interesting tidbit. This is O'Shea's 3rd straight Grey Cup, and he's only played Grey Cups against his teams he's played for, Hamilton and now Toronto. So that's another interesting one you could throw in there. I got to give it to Osh. Just experience head coaching and in the league. And, geez, just look at his career highlights and awards. 6 Grey Cups in total, most outstanding rookie, most outstanding Canadian, 2-time CFL Coach of the Year, all-time to Argos team, and that's playing and coaching. But still, you got to give it to that guy over Ryan Dinwiddie, who's done pretty good things here. He has won a Grey Cup back as quarterback coach of the Calgary Stampeders, but not yet as the head coach. So, when you got the big headset on, he's the one holding the big clipboard this time. He's not just some quarterback's coach. It's the real deal, Ryan.
Yeah, I think when we were chatting about this matchup a bit earlier in the week, I branded Grey Cup 109 officially as the Slop Bowl because these are the two of the sloppiest first-place divisional football teams I have ever seen. 2 teams that got enough wins to finish first in the standings and had great seasons, but had many games where they didn't look like a top-tier team necessarily, but still found a way to pull it out. And I think that's what the Grey Cup is probably going to come down to here. So then you start looking at the coaching in the sense of which coach is more equipped to, help settle his team down when those early game turnovers and blunders happen. I think it's Mike O'Shea. We saw examples of that, I think, in the division finals where, Mark Leggio did miss an early kick in that game. Yeah, they trotted him out for a long, 40-something yard field goal, which he hasn't attempted that many of all season. Still a little bit later when maybe there was talk of they should have done something else there. So nobody rallies his troops better than O'Shea and crew does. I got to give the nod in the coaching facet to them there as well. I guess the final thing we didn't really talk about with the offensive matchups before we move on to fantasy here is the health of Zach Collaros. Let's say he's not 100%. Let's say he all of a sudden doesn't play. How does that change things? How big does that impact this matchup for you guys? Because I think we all went Winnipeg's direction on offense, right? Would we trend things back in Toronto's direction a lot more? Obviously, if the MOP isn't there, I think I would. I mean, Drew Brown's performed well, but it's a backup quarterback with barely any experience. Bethel Thompson was the league's leading passer. I like that a little bit more. What do you guys think, Trey?
No, it could be Dakota Prukop or it could be Drew Brown. I'm taking the Bombers -5 on Sunday. I'll tell you that right now, Adam.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry. I just can't. It doesn't matter. Like, freaking Buzz and Boomer can go play out there. I'm taking the Blue Bombers -5 or whatever it is on Sunday. It's that simple.
Well, I think for me, if Zach Collaros isn't playing this game and he doesn't start this game, let's say, if he's not playing at all, to me, I've got to go with the guy that knows his quarterbacks, has played with his played with his running backs all season, has played with his wide receivers all season, and that means that I'd have to switch hats and go back to the Argonauts. So
I knew you had the hat on hand there somewhere. One game, by the way, between these two teams this year, back on July 4th, a 23-22 win by the Bombers, in which they started out strong. Toronto came back, gave them fits in the second half, and then I think maybe missed a field goal or a convert at the end, and the Bombers won by 1 point. So we got a good matchup earlier this year. We'll see if we get a good matchup this Sunday. I hope it's a fantastic game, a real close game between these teams. If we can get the drama we got last year of that overtime game of Winnipeg-Hamilton all over again, maybe with a little less wind factoring in, that would be nice. But certainly looking forward to seeing what these positional matchups bring this week. And this ties into a little bit of the CFL fantasy of it all. Yes, the final week of the year to make our fantasy picks here, and only 2 teams to choose from. So this will go a lot quicker, I think, here as well. So let's start with the quarterback. Overall, $30,000 is what you get to make your roster. 1 quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, a flex, and a defense. Quarterback, your starters, Zach Collaros is $9,500. McLeod Bethel Thompson is $9,100. I imagine Trey is considering potentially going with Dakota Prukop or Drew Brown at $73.29 or $58.95. What do you guys think of this quarterback matchup in terms of fantasy play? Let's go to you first, Adam.
Well, I'm going to put it this way. If it depends exactly what we just finished talking about. If Zach Collaros is playing this week and is looking extremely healthy and looking positive going into that warm-up, I might switch my pick. But right at the moment, it's McLeod Bethel Thompson because he's healthy. He's ready to go. He's got no issues on him except for how the CFL does their business because apparently he decided to take a shot at Randy Ambrosie today, the other day. On a thing. So on the when he did an interview there. So that'll be interesting, but that doesn't affect him in the play. So yeah, I'm going to go probably MBT.
What did he say?
Something about that the league needs to work, do some things better, and that starts
from the top, he said, or something. Yeah.
Like he clearly was a shot at Ambrosie.
Yeah.
Are you sure he wasn't just talking about his own franchise?
Well,
yeah,
Tannenbaum needs the same shot, but I'm guessing the guy that wrote his check isn't getting a shot.
Trey, quarterback, who are you taking this week?
You spoiled it. I was going to take Dakota Prukop, regardless of who starts, because this is the game where those 3rd and inches turn into 3rd and 1 and 2s. These are the games why you practice those weird little play action 40-yard bombs once in a while. This is the game where that special yard, like, you're going to need that guy who's way down on your depth chart to come up big. He's going to get some short yardage touchdowns. He's been good for me last few weeks. I said it, and no Mike Miller this week. I'll tell you that right now. But Dakota Prukop, the special teams guy, and it saves me money elsewhere.
I'm going to go at quarterback this week. I went with McLeod Bethel Thompson. If I could fit him in and I knew he was 100% healthy, I'd probably go Zach Collaros. I think his touchdown potential is greater, but I think Bethel Thompson's health is better and his passing yardage total is higher. So it's a weird offset there. Don't feel too strongly.
Can I add one thing too? Sorry, I just thought of one thing to go with Prukop. If Collaros' ankle is banged up, maybe that Prukop package kind of expands a little bit too, right? On those, because he stays in on those second and shorts and second and mediums and first downs after the pickups, right? So just wanted to throw that in out there too.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. And if you can use that saved money to beef up your roster elsewhere, when the picks are few and far and few between this week, right? It was real tough to find a good roster that fits under the price at this point with only 2 teams left. Running back, we've got Brady Oliveira at $8,000. We've got AJ Ouellette at $5,500. Andrew Harris, $6,414. Those are probably the 3 main guys you're looking at. I know Johnny Augustine maybe gets some touches. Greg McCrae, probably not in the lineup at this point with the receivers that came back. Javon Leake, $2,500, does return kicks for the Argos. Maybe that's a play there. But in my running back position, you know what? To spoil my flex pick, I have 2 running backs on my roster this week. Like I said earlier, I think it is going to be a battle of the Winnipeg-born running backs. So I put Brady Oliveira and Andrew Harris in my roster this week. I like Oliveira better. I think he's going to have a bigger game. I think he's going to get more of the usage, and I think he's going to be fired up and ready to go just like he was in the West Final. But I think, looking at the money I had left to spend and the other options available, I also could see Andrew Harris doing the same thing. So I'd lean Oliveira a little bit because more guaranteed usage, but also really like Andrew Harris this week. What about you, Trey?
I went with the Oak Park High School alum, Andrew Harris. Had to go with that guy. I think he'll be fired up. It's hard to go against him here. Like you said, great. He plays great in the stadium. He's fired up against his old team. Fantasy points is weird. He could still split usage, but I think when you get down to the red zone, he's going to be the guy you lean to, and that's where you pick up them fantasy points. Adam?
Yeah, I think that Andrew Harris is going to have a game if any of the running backs do. To me, I've been looking at this weather here, Ryan, and when you got a -2 game, I don't know how much they're going to start trying to chuck the football a bit instead of just running it down teams' throats. When you got 2 big defensive teams that are pretty good at blocking up runs on both sides of the football, I think that they might start hucking it, especially when the weather's going to be nice. If the weather's poor, yeah, you should have 2 running backs. I agree. But I'm going to go with Andrew Harris on this one. And yeah, my flex isn't a running back.
As we were talking about the return games for these teams before, like Javon Leake at $2,500 is actually pretty intriguing to me. Like, you need 6 points for full fantasy value in regular season totals. My models skew weird for the playoffs because there's less salary, less players, and probably not hitting 100 points unless you have a real fantastic week. But, if Javon Leake can put up a couple of points, then, yeah, you might not hit full value there, but then you have enough money to spend big elsewhere. I don't actually hate that in a week where there really aren't very many value plays to go around. Looking at wide receiver, again, slim pickings here, but your most expensive wide receiver, no surprise here, is Dalton Schoen at $10,000. There's a lot of different options available. Who are you guys going with at wide receiver this week? Let's start with you, Adam.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at 2 guys that actually were pretty good value plays, I think, from last week and from just over the season. First one that I was looking at is Brandon Banks. If $5,000, he's a fairly reasonable receiver. They gave him 5 targets last week. I still say 3 or 4 of those probably were good. But again, he only was 2 for 5. I think this week he's going to be maybe staying a little bit further away from the white line. And I could see McLeod Bethel-Thompson relying on the veteran. So to me, that's not a bad pick. The other one that I'm looking at is Rashid Bailey. Has been very good for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers all year. I think that he's been used when he needs to be, and he's going to get one of those big catches when the Blue Bombers need it most. So to me, I think I'm going to go with Bailey and Banks right at the moment. Trey?
Well, no shocker, my receiver spot. I'm going to go with Dalton Schoen. I saved the money for that. Shocker, yeah. Shocker. And my flex, I'm going on a hunch with Janarian Grant. We're talking about receiving yards and all that, and that counts. So I don't know. Didn't he get a touchdown last year's Grey Cup? I remember seeing highlights of him getting one in the snow, but I can't remember if that was last year or 2019.
I think that might have been 2019.
Okay, but still, if someone's gonna do it, I would not be too shocked. It would be him. So that's my Sean and Grant.
Yeah, if I am going double high-priced running backs, I don't have a lot of money left at wide receiver this week. Again, as we talk through these options, thinking maybe rework it. Do I want to go the double running back, or do I want to go that Javon Leak route and then spend for a guy like Dalton Schoen at wide receiver? It's kind of, tempting me. I like taking the chance on that. But as of my roster right now, the guy I have in, I don't think I've put him in once all season, is $3,000 Drew Wolotarski, a guy who proves to be a serviceable receiver, doesn't put up huge fantasy totals normally, but he seems to come up with some real clutch catches for the Bombers. And if you're needing a clutch catch in the Grey Cup game, a guy like Drew Wolotarski might be able to make one or two there. It's 3,000. It's not, or don't need a ton of points hit value for him there. So, there's no real clutch $2,500 play at wide receivers this week. But I kind of like him. Also liked what you guys said about Janarian Grant, Brandon Banks. You look at the middle price. Yeah, Rasheed Bailey's $5,500. Greg Ellingson's an intriguing one to take a boomer bust value pick on because he had 0 catches last week against BC in the West Final, which was shocking to me, knowing the volume Greg Ellingson is capable of. But so many mouths to feed, it's hard to rely on that. Dalton Schoen, Nick Dembski, Curly Gittins Jr., they're top-priced receivers for a reason. I think any of them could be big for your fantasy lineups if you put them in. I really like what you were saying about Rasheed Bailey at $5,500. He has been one of the hottest receivers down the stretch of the season. He was quiet last week. He was also dealing with a bit of an injury. It was a game-time decision last week. He could come up clutch in the Grey Cup like he did back in Calgary in 2019. I believe he had a big game in that one as well. Let's take a look at defenses here. Both of them 3,200, so there's no price difference. So this is simply what you guys think is going to be the better scoring defense in this game. I've got the Argos for myself. I think Winnipeg hasn't put up the fantasy points on defense all year. Toronto's puts up some big games of, close to 20 points at times. They lead the league in interceptions by a wide margin. And if, Zach Laros isn't 100%, he's the best quarterback at throwing while he's scrambling, but maybe he's not scrambling as well if his ankle isn't quite 100% there. So I will take my chance on the Argos defense that led me to a couple victories this season. Trey, where are you going on defense?
History says that the game's going to end in a triple-tipped interception by Winnipeg. So I think the game's going to be pretty even, but there's going to be one or two turnovers that turn the tide, and Winnipeg's proven in these games they get those. Adam?
Yeah, however, in 2022, the Argos do have the most interceptions and turnovers. They've got Winton McManus there, who looks to be healthy, I believe. Again, Jamal Beheters is there as well. Just some big guys for the Toronto Argonauts. And to me, it's going to be another interception or two. And interceptions are worth everything when you're picking defenses, essentially. So I'm going to go with the Argonauts.
I like what Richard said in the chat about Brandon Banks. I like this prediction here. Banks makes up for the return touchdown that got called back a couple of years ago against Calgary. What an arc that would be for him to finally get his Grey Cup win if he can get in for a return and bring that back. I would love to see that there. That does it for our fantasy picks this week. Again, we do have a public fantasy league over on the CFL Fantasy site. I know a couple people in the chat were talking about that earlier. If you want to get in for the final week of the season, just search the Canadian Football Countdown and go up against us all there. But now for the final time this year, we got to make our picks and make our bets in our betting segment here, powered by Betstamp. Which is a free app that helps you find the best value for your online sports betting wagers by providing you comparisons of odds across a variety of different sports books, including the Betstamp recommended best odds, which we use for our CFL picks every single week. You can learn more at betstamp.app and sign up with referral code CFC. Trey, over to you for the betting segment. Let me pull up the odds for.
Do we want to do the picks first, or we want to do some props first? What are you guys feeling?
Let's do the picks first and then get into the
first. Well, picks first. Okay, we'll do it the picks. Winnipeg minus 5.5 available on Cool Bet, and +6 is what you can get on Bet99 for the Toronto Argonauts. I have to take Winnipeg minus 4.5. I was debating because you can change odds and get different odds on some sites too. I was debating to see what the biggest one available was just for fun and put a couple bucks down on that. Got to go blue. I don't care how much of a homer I look like. It's the 1 week. I grew up 20 minutes away from Saskatchewan. I got picked on a lot as a kid for being a Bomber fan. I got to soak it up when I can. Adam?
Well, seeing as pretty much I'm wearing a green jersey and a blue hat, I think we got to do some convincing eventually for Ryan to try to get him over on our side so that he can lead the Toronto Argonauts parade that's going to be happening in Saskatchewan after this one. Because you know the Rider fans will celebrate the demise of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, essentially. You know what? I don't like that Winnipeg gets the 3-point advantage for home field, even though it's in Mosaic Stadium. I don't like that Winnipeg thinks that they're just going to walk in and take this game. And guess what, guys? I'm 4-0 in my picks. I think I'm taking the Toronto Argonauts. You know what? +6. It seems like quite a little bit of a stretch there. I don't see the ball. I see this happening by a field goal or less. To me, yeah, I'm going to go with the Toronto Argonauts. And afterwards, we'll go and see if I think about doing them outright.
Okay, so here's where we're at. So Trey's taking the Bombers, Adam's taking the Argos, and somehow I'm left in the position of breaking the tie here, which is intriguing because I'm pretty sure preseason I picked the Argos to win the Grey Cup in 2022. I at least picked them to represent the East. Before the playoffs, I picked this matchup and I picked Toronto beating Winnipeg. But then part of me also leans towards Winnipeg. It's really hard to pick against them in the big game after the last couple seasons ago. So I'm torn here in the middle. I need an argument, I think, from both of you, or maybe I just need to flip the coin like I've done on Argos games this year. But I think I need a bit of persuasion from either of you here of why. Convince me to go one way or the other. Adam, you're the road team here as the Argos, so to say. So tell me why I should take Toronto here.
Well, here's my argument on this. I mean, yes, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have won the Grey Cup twice in a row. They won them on the back of Andrew Harris, who, by the way, is now on the Toronto Argonauts. That should be a part of it. McLeod Bethel Thompson is the best, has the most yards for the quarterbacks this season. He's got a good plethora of weapons with him that are looking to get his first Grey Cup ring in a very, very, very long try and for a bunch of attempts. To me, Brandon Banks, I believe, is a guy that's going to want to get off that monkey off his back and finally win a Grey Cup. You've got most of this crowd is going to be in green and dark blue cheering against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers unless the Bombers can really buy some tickets. And let's face it, most Saskatchewan fans have them up for sale right now. So to me, I think that the Argonauts, and I believe they are the better defense, in all honesty. They've played stronger all season. They've gotten more interceptions. Zach Collaros also isn't healthy, which should be a big factor into this one. I don't care if the Winnipeg fans are saying, yeah, he's healthy. Don't worry about him. He's healthy. By the way, look that way. He's not, oh no, he's not walking right. Look that way. He's fine. He's healthy. So to me, it's the Argonauts. I think that they can come in this one. They can win this game. The only game these two teams have played all season, it was 23-22. It was a toss-up. So to me, a +6 is pretty much an automatic win for you if you take the Argos. For outright, I still think the Argos are going to win this one because I just believe that it's their time. I believe the Winnipeg, especially if their quarterback is injured any amount. I like Drew Brown as a future quarterback in the CFL. I don't like him for a Grey Cup game to pull off the Ryan Dinwiddie because we've seen how that happens before. Usually ends up with a bunch of interceptions and with the, this case, hopefully the Argos winning. Trey, argue about why the Bombers should win this one.
I'm pretty sure the Blue Bombers are almost undefeated at Mosaic Stadium in the playoffs. So, this is a playoff game. So that's one. The Bombers are also undefeated in playoff or in the last few years of games I've attended at Mosaic Stadium. So there's 2. And Ryan, where are you from? When you open up your driver's license, what province does it say? You don't have to show it on the camera, but come on. Like Mike picked the Argos, and if you pick the Argos too, then I don't know, man.
I have no allegiance to my favorite football team when it comes to things like this. You guys should know that by now. I didn't have a single Bomber on my fantasy team the entire season long.
That's different. You've been alive for almost the whole 29-year drought. And would it not be so sweet to say to you're having a kid next year. Oh, the Bombers won the year, just before you were born. Remember that, because my kids don't even believe the Bombers can lose because of how much they've seen them win over the last few years. Don't you want your kid to have that, Ryan?
So, Ryan, essentially what he's saying here is that he's telling you to go with your heart, and you're a logical man. You like logic and you like logistics. You got to go with the logic here.
Guys, this is tough. This is some good arguments here, but Trey, you're right. I do want the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to win. I am a Bombers fan, as much as, I would argue amongst all of us Bomber fans on the podcast, I'm probably the most neutral Bombers fan. I've been critical of them all season long. I've picked against them in a lot of cases like this as well. But it's a difference between what I want and what I actually think is going to happen is what I'm going to base my betting pick on. And I think I'm picking the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I got you there. I think I got to switch just based on how these teams have played the last couple of weeks. The Winnipeg, they got through that game against BC. They really shut Nathan Rourke down early in that game, gave him nothing to go off of. And again, I think this comes down to which team is less sloppy and which team makes the last mistake is going to lose. And I think the Bombers are a team that is better equipped to come back from those mistakes they've made. It's now 2 straight division finals where they've turned over the ball in the end zone unnecessarily, and they found a way to go on and win those games. The spread is interesting at +6 because if the Argos win this game, I think it's going to be by a couple of points. But I think if Winnipeg's going to go out and win this game, we're going to see something like what we saw in 2019, just full on start to finish, full throttle win here by the Bombers potentially. I think I'm going to take Winnipeg at -5.5. I think they win by at least a touchdown in this one, and I'm taking the Bombers to do the three-peat. As much as I love what I've seen this year from the Argos, both teams have had inconsistency. I think Bombers can overcome that a little bit better.
I love it. But just recap on the year. Myself is 51-33. Ryan is 46-38, and Adam's 43-41. But Adam is 4-0 in the playoffs, while Ryan and I are only 2-2 in the playoffs. So it's interesting here because again, we got this split. We got the guy who's on the hot streak in the playoffs going against the guys who did a little better all year. Could be an interesting one.
That made it real difficult for me because normally agreeing with Adam against Trey ends up not going in my favor, but he's the hot hand. So
it's going to be lonely at 5-0, but I guess I could accept it.
Well, we just want to give you some sort of victory in the playoffs this year while we enjoy the other one, right? So,
hey, like I said, playoff Adam comes to play. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Hey, full credit to you. So those are our picks against the spread. Last week we did money line picks and the over and under as well. So should we do those here? I mean, Trey and I obviously are taking the Bombers on the money line because we took them to cover the spread here. But Adam, are you taking the Argos best odd payout from CoolBet 2.95 or the Bombers? Tony Bet has it at 1.42. So the Bombers clearly favorites here. Who are you taking overall to win this game?
I still take the Toronto Argonauts. You know what? To me, the Argonauts are still the better team, I believe. To me, if they come out and they cause interceptions or they cause some trouble, and again, it all depends on the foot of Zach Collaros. If Zach Collaros is healthy, maybe I might want to switch this half an hour before the game. I've done that before. But, yeah, I would probably think right now I'm going to go with the Argonauts.
Sure. I'm not surprised. I get it because again, if Saskatchewan was playing an IG field in the Grey Cup, it would be really hard for me to cheer for them. So I do understand. But over under, yeah, this was an interesting one. What do you have currently on your slide, Ryan? Or do you have a slide for it?
Yeah, it's here on the slide as well.
I'm blind. Is it okay? There it is, 4.5 or 47.5. I mean, sorry.
4.5. I take the over.
Sorry, I was looking at a prop bet. I got a prop bet that's 4.5 that I was looking at earlier, and that was in my head. Take the 47.5 here. I will go. Oh, quick math here. What's that's like 24-23 if the game's close. Ooh, you said -2, Adam, on Sunday. There's the weather.
-2 for the weather.
I'll go over. It's a. If the weather changes, I could change that, but at -2, I'll go over. Ryan?
I think I might go under. And the best odds for under is under 48 points by CoolBet. So pretty similar line on either side here. I'm thinking if Collaros isn't fully healthy, that impacts the overall point total here. I'm thinking a real good defense for the Argos and a big name defense that comes playing big games for the Bombers. Thinking an Argos offense that doesn't put a ton of balls in the end zone necessarily. I think we could be under 48 points here. I'll take my chance on that one. Adam?
No, I'm going to go on the under as well because, and usually traditionally, teams that don't play each other a lot try to feel each other out for almost a half before they start getting it going. So both of these teams have only played each other once. It's going to be a mild day, which usually means over, but on this case here, just the way that I think it's going to go. And again, Zach Collaros' health, pretty much it's been like a broken record. I've been saying that. To me, if he's not healthy, it could go under. So I'm going to go on the under.
All righty. Do you want to do some prop bets? I got some nifty ones here, I think. We'll start. So I'll start the one that got me 4.5 total touchdowns over under 4.5. Both teams. I'll go on. Oh, I just said over 50 points though. Almost. I guess I'd have to go over to keep aligned with my other one. So I'll go over with that one.
4.5 touchdowns. I can see. So basically 5 touchdowns hit the over on this one.
But then that's already 28 points out of or 35 points out of your 40 something, right? So
yeah, that's a close line for me. I think I would go the over on this though. I think there are going to be some touchdowns to go around. I still think it fits under the 48 points, but I think it's going to be close enough in there where I see, maybe Winnipeg coming three touchdowns to 2 here in this type of game.
On this one here, it's going to be awful close to that. Again, it means that each team gets 2 touchdowns and somebody scores the third to make it 21-14. I think I'll go the over on that one. Just because I think that there's going to be probably a good chance that one team is going to get at least 3. And I think one team will end up with 2 eventually. So I just don't know. Like I said, I'm going to go on the over on this one. Richard over in the chat has one as well. Prop bet for fight breaking out on the Toronto sidelines. No, I'm going to go with a no on that one because Mike Pinball Clemens has been riding around and pretty much on the bench the whole time with his team all week. So I'm going to go with the no on that prop bet.
I was going to change the line here or the bet a little bit to fight breaking out in the stands with the Argos after the game. But then I'd have to go the under on that because there's a new fan code of conduct. Remember, we all signed it all in the CBA preseason, so we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's punishable by death.
I'll go with the yes on the fight if the game gets out of hand. I don't know if this gets nasty early. We know what Bethel Thompson said, and maybe he's talking about the Toronto organization a little bit more than the CFL, and he might not care who's on the sideline. And there could be a quarterback carousel in the CFL this year. So I'll go yes, just because the odds would be astronomical on yes. So $5 will probably pay for Adam a new tractor. So I think I'll go with that. But
And the
the
other
next one,
part also in that, don't forget, is Brandon Banks usually has an attitude. So
that's true. Didn't he literally? He's literally had to delete Twitter 2 years in a row because of fans. So I mean, I'm sure he'll have something to say. The next one, quick sacks over under 3.5. Again, both teams. I'll go. Oh, Adam, you want to go first?
You go ahead if you want.
I was gonna go. I'm gonna go over again because I think this could be a defensive battle. And we don't know Caleros' ankle. He might have to sit there and just roll over a couple times instead of dancing out of trouble. So I'll go over. Adam?
I'm going to go on the over on this one too, because I think Toronto's a pretty strong team to maybe get some pressure on an injured quarterback. So if that's the case, then yeah, I could see this one going over pretty quickly. Also, Richard in the chat, yes, Daddy does need a new tractor.
What was the line on this? Sorry?
3.5.
3.5. See, if you look at their totals on the year, 36 and 37 sacks, that averages out to only 2 a game for each side. So that's right there. But even if they both hit their average, then that's 4 sacks on the year, which is in the over. So, the number is pretty low on this one, that especially with the injury potentially and some big play potential from the defenses. I'll take the over on this.
Ooh, we're agreeing on prop bets. This is weird. It's making me scared that you guys are going along with me. Next, this one's interesting. Before the game even starts, coin toss, heads or tails? This is on Cool Bet. I'm gonna go tails never fails. Ryan, are you gonna get your coin?
Yeah, I got the coin ready. So Adam, you go first.
Well, if I go to the fan state of the league, they're going to give me one of those coins from the coin toss. So if I get there in time tomorrow, maybe I can actually go get one of those, which would be kind of cool. But you know what? I don't know. I don't have a coin here to flip. So I'll go heads. Why not?
All right, let's see what I'm doing. I'm going tails.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because Richard asked, it says opening coin toss outcome. So to me, that's whatever it lands. Yeah, it's not what's called. Yeah, just to verify, because I was confused too when I was reading it, and I couldn't remember.
If it lands on its side, or that absurd one, wasn't there a game earlier this year or last year where like the coin rolled all the way down the tunnel or something like that? Does that cancel the bet?
I don't know. That's right. I was totally reading. Adam, what did you take?
I took heads.
Heads. And Ryan, what did you take? I totally missed that.
The coin flip told me that the coin flip is going to be tails.
Oh, okay, so we finally differentiated on one, but tails never fails, so we'll go with that. Next, we've had it before. Overtime, yes, at plus 1,100. So I believe that's a $10 bet gets you $110 plus your $10 back. No, minus 3,333. So I believe you get like a $10 bet pays you like $7 maybe or something like that. So this is one of those ones when the odds get crazy, you just put $10 down on the biggest long shot. And if it comes in, I just got supper money, right? So I'm going to go yes to overtime.
This one is one where I just wouldn't make the bet, to be honest. I think there's no point in making the bet on no overtime, and it's probably not going to happen on the yes, so I probably won't do it. But yeah, for ones like that, I agree. It can be fun to put $1 or something like that into it, but don't go bet big money because you're probably not going to get the result out of it. Very likely won't. But if I had to pick if overtime's going to happen, I'm going to say no. It's pretty rare, although we have had it 2 times in the last number of years. In the last, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go no as well. To me, I think this is going to end up as a scoregami just to blow the Americans' minds. It's going to be a 1-0 game. I'm kidding. No, it won't. Don't ever bet on the 1-0 game. It's going to be a no overtime, though. I can't see it making that far.
All right. We got a couple more. I love some of these. Safety, yes, at plus 700 or no at 1250. And this is like the physical 2-point safety, not the 1-point single, obviously. Rouge. I'm going to go again. Was there a safety this year? I can't think of. Was there a few? Okay.
Was it this year where the Elks gave up 3 safeties in one game and on consecutive drives to the Bombers, or was that last season?
Oh, that was last season.
This one I'm going to say no. I'm going to go no on this, even though it doesn't pay a lot. But just, you don't see it too often. So I'll go no. Adam?
I'm going to go yes, because every time that you take a knee when you're on your 2-yard line and go in the end zone, that is considered a safety. So, yep, there's going to be a safety.
Wasn't there a Grey Cup or two decided by that recently too? So
I would take yes on this one as well, partially because I think Mark Leggio is actually pretty good at the coffin corner punting, and I think could potentially leave the Argos down at their 1-yard line, or Zach Collaros likes to throw a lot of interceptions in the end zone. Somebody takes it out, gets stopped at the 1-yard line, ends up with the safety. I think, obviously, on the other side, you could think of the same thing as well. Lots of variations. Again, not betting huge on any of these kind of sillier prop bets, but if we're talking, throw $1 in there, sure, I'll take yes on this.
All right, real quick, got two more. First score of the game, touchdown at plus 115, field goal at plus 140, anything other. So I guess that'd be safety or rouge at plus 500. I'm taking the any other because there's going to be a 1-point rouge kickoff or punt or something stupid at the beginning of the game. Ryan?
What is the odds on? I guess that can't be the first score of the game. I was going to say, what are the odds on the first score being the missed convert return for a touchdown that BC just pulled off against Winnipeg last week?
That would probably be any other, I guess, right? So
yeah,
but it wouldn't be because they would have to score a touchdown first, right?
Yeah,
so,
they would have to unless we change the rule book, but I don't think that's going to happen in the Grey Cup. So. I'm going to say field goal. I'm going to say somebody gets a decent drive down the field to start off the game and then gets it just short and kicks the field goal to go up 3-0.
Yeah, no, I agree with Ryan. I think it'll be a field goal. However, I would sure love it. I would love to know the odds of kickoff return for a touchdown, because that would be just sweet. And also, if it happened in the second half, somebody becomes a millionaire while watching the Grey Cup.
Now, the interesting thing, we talked about both of these kickers being two of the worst kickers in the league in terms of percentage this year. So if we're thinking kickers going down the field to kick the field goal, are we almost better off going the plus 500 on him missing and going out the end zone for the rouge, right? I'm still taking the field goal, though, but an interesting thought.
So now you got me thinking, looking to see if there was kick returns, but they don't have that on Cool Bet. Might be out there somewhere else. Last one I thought was fun. First team to call a timeout. Both teams are at minus 110. I'm going to go with the Argos. Just the maybe inexperience in this game. O'Shea doesn't call a lot of timeouts unless they're strategic. I wonder if that I got to double check. I wonder if that counts if you lose a challenge. Because you would lose a timeout for that, right? So
I wouldn't think so. That's losing a timeout, not using it, but
I got to double check. It doesn't really say in the fine print here, but yeah, but you don't. I don't know. You don't have it for the rest of the game. You did use it to use your challenge, right? So I would say that it would. But I'll go Toronto. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going Toronto as well because I don't have confidence in Ryan Dinwiddie's ability to know when to use them. We've seen some clock management issues in the past. Last season, granted, he's been better this year. But I think O'Shea is the more veteran coach here, obviously, and is better in terms of the strategics of when to use these. So I could also see, if Winnipeg does jump out early, Toronto using the timeout to kind of settle things down a little bit, potentially. So I'll pick Toronto on this one. But again, kind of a coin toss. Adam?
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I think Toronto, if anybody, depends on that challenge thing. To me, I know in the NFL, they always go and they say X team is challenging the play for pass interference, and then they say timeout. So, I don't know. To me, if it's just taking a literal timeout, no, it'll be Toronto.
Well, the thing is, Osh doesn't even challenge heck of a lot. So I wouldn't, even if that did count, I don't think I would think of Winnipeg at all. That's all the fun ones on Cool Bet. I was hoping they had the Gatorade one. The Super Bowl always has the Gatorade one of what color it's going to be when they dump it on the coach. Couldn't find the odds on that one, but you'd think the Bombers and the Argos are good chance it's going to be blue, but you never know.
These are fun. I like these. I wish we had these for the CFL all season long. Some of these, at least, to talk about. I feel like NFL probably has that more so, but I know CFL, even like just looking at some of the sports books this season, like you didn't get a whole ton of like player props. Even a couple of them have player props and they come up kind of same day right before the game type of thing. Definitely, I mean, obviously the CFL is starting to get more and more into the betting scene. So I hope when we come back and, potentially do a betting segment like this again next season, that maybe we can have some fun prop bet lines to throw in there with our picks each week.
Of course, we don't have to go into it, but there are ones like the over and under on the yards of teams' first touchdowns, longest touchdowns of the game, length of the first touchdown, Winnipeg's combined yardage on touchdowns over and under, and Toronto has that too. So there is a lot of crazy little things that they have, and this is just on Cool Bet, so I don't even know what other places might have.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you check out all the different sports books to find your best lines there, or check out Betstamp. I don't think there's odds on these specific types of props, but for your game lines, find the best odds for your area if you're going to make a pick and maximize your money you're making there. Thanks for bringing those along here today, Trey. Resident betting expert. Excellent job all season long. An excellent job here today. Guys, I think we're all set for Grey Cup 109. I think we're ready to, go out and enjoy the rest of Grey Cup week and get into enjoying the festivities in the game this coming Sunday. And let's take a look at what we're doing here on the podcast just to round things out the rest of the season here. A little bit of a scheduling change. Sunday night after the Grey Cup, 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The guys will be here to break down everything for the game for you. Adam, Mike, Trey, you'll be live somewhere, presumably straight after actually going to the game. So that should be fun and exciting.
I'm hoping Dairy Queen's not busy. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm hoping you don't end up going down Albert Street and going and knocking a light pole over.
I won't be driving to the game. I'll be walking, so I'll try to find somewhere nice and or not walking to the game, but taxi or bus. We'll figure it out once I arrive.
But yeah, these three guys will be here to recap the game Sunday. Might show up if the timing works. I've got family coming over to watch the game. I'm not sure it will work for myself, unfortunately. But they'll be here with you to recap everything from the night's games or the game of the evening and the final result and all that fun stuff. So make sure you check that out and or catch it throughout the week, obviously, after the fact and the audio and the video feeds. It'll be live over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and the Game Time TV YouTube page, thanks to our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV, which you can learn more about at gametimetv.ca. And then after that, the following show, I believe this date is correct and confirmed at this point. We will, the following Monday, November 28th, our CFL season wrap-up show will be 9 p.m. Central Time for that one as well. So we're going to take a week off after the Grey Cup, decompress a little bit, let some of the post-Grey Cup news come out. And then hopefully, I think all four of us are going to be here back for that one. Hopefully that all works out. All four of us will be here if it works out to kind of wrap up and put a bow on the season. And then we'll talk about a little bit more, perhaps at the end of that one, what the plans are coming into the off season and what you can look forward to or where you can find what we're doing going forward here. But you can catch that one live on all the same platforms or after the fact as well. If you want to follow us on social media, well, for now, I hear there's been a lot of trending on Twitter tonight of RIP Twitter and talks that Twitter may be going down because thanks, Elon. For the time being, you can find us on Twitter at CF Countdown Pod. We hope it sticks around. And on Facebook as well, facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod. Find all the other shows from around the Canadian Football Podcast Network at CF Pod Network there as well. Guys, where can people find you and everything you've got going on? Let's start with you, Trey.
All I know is if Twitter dies tonight, I better get my $9.99 back because I didn't get the full month of verified in, right? I only got like a week of it. So, yeah, Elon will be getting my bill in the mail for that. You can find me at TreyMB Harness. I really hope Twitter doesn't go down because my whole life is Twitter right now with work and this. So, yeah, at TreyMB Harness, I always got some horse racing stuff. Edmonton starts on Friday at Century Mile. So, I don't know why they race in Edmonton in November to January. That sounds so stupid to me. But and California starts, and there's a lot of Manitoba people there. So if you want to know about what Manitobans are doing when it's too cold to race here, follow my Twitter at TreyMB Harness, and you'll see. My buddy, he just had a kid, and he's like, "Oh, it's really nice in California right now." And I told him about how I'm going to the game on Sunday, and it's not going to be as nice as what it is in California. So, that's the life of horse racing when you can go around and do that stuff. Adam, where they can find you?
Well, they can find me at Adam Stewart 1 for now, I guess. I'll have some farming pictures up there eventually, but this weekend, lots of Grey Cup party photos. I know I'll be all over there. Me and Trey will be touring around. So make sure you find us somewhere out in Regina and go and give us a pat on the back or a pat in the head, a smack in the head if you're a Bomber fan that don't like me for giving our choosing the Argonauts. Hey, just come and talk to us. We're usually pretty sociable. We'll have a bunch of pictures from there. We'll be touring around there. Trey's going to be there all weekend. I'll be there until later Saturday. It should be a great game here this weekend. You can also find Mike. He's at Mike Garrell. He is, again, probably busy with some hockey, but you know what? If you're enjoying that kind of stuff, make sure you go check out Mike as well.
I forgot to tell Richard. Richard was saying something about World Cup predictions. I don't have one yet, but if you want, I'm going to try to bet on every game and try to figure something out and learn soccer since it's going to take over. So follow me there. And yes, Richard, I am going to the game. I couldn't afford it. Me and Adam, we worked out some deals, and it looks like I'm going to be hauling hay for the next 37 years. I think we settled on something like that.
38, but we're negotiating the lot.
38, something like that. So it's we worked it out. Ryan, where can they find you?
I was going to give my World Cup prediction too. What the heck? I'm going to take Canada because they're cheap and they could maybe win a game or two. And if they win the whole thing, what is it, Trey? Like just $1 gives you 3,000 or something?
It was. I did see it. It was something ridiculous for Canada. I was looking at it the other day, but I don't seriously think Canada's going to win. But that again is that bet where you would put a couple bucks down and see who it is here. Let me see if I can. Ryan, you tell them where they can find you, and I'll tell you what the odds are by the end of it.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter for now, obviously, at CooperTrooper42. Don't tweet a whole lot there, but if you want to talk CFL Fantasy, any of that fun stuff, I don't have a World Cup prediction because I honestly can't tell you which teams are in it. So I hear Canada's in it. That's exciting, and maybe Qatar since it's there. Other than that, I couldn't really tell you. Not huge into soccer. I used to follow the Grey Cup. Obviously, I currently follow the Grey Cup as well. I've chatted about it for the last hour and 45 minutes. I used to follow the World Cup a little bit more, but maybe I'll get into it this November as well. You can follow me on Twitter there. Is this going to be the first official meeting between the two of you this weekend? Are you going to be running in the same circles and meeting up at the Grey Cup, by the way?
I was going to say, I'm going to be I believe I'm the first podcast member to have met everybody in person after this weekend.
Yeah,
so
I think you would be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Trey completes the bingo card first.
You would have thought it. But yeah, real quick, a $10 bet pays to $5,010 if Canada wins. So again, that kind of helps. If I was really going to go for it, I'm not going with England. They're cursed in this tournament.
No, Germany would be my actual pick.
I'm feeling Argentina. I think this is Messi's last World Cup, so you never know what he could do. But I don't know. I'm not too much into it, so I just know Canada.
We're asking about Trey. He still has to make sure that he stops at the Saskatchewan border, make sure that he has all his current vaccinations because we don't trust him crossing the border otherwise. So, you got to get checked out before you cross.
Sorry, I'm going to have to make sure I stop at like Wolseley or whatever. It has that little bathroom on the side there. I stopped at it every time this year, and they have a little book that you got to sign when you stop in. So I got to make sure I sign it again.
Is the book just you over and over again?
Pretty much.
Times 8.
It's been a lot of fun here tonight, guys. It's been a lot of fun all season long. Obviously, the game on Sunday should be a blast, and looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about it right afterwards on Sunday as well. Enjoy the trip out there, Trey. Enjoy the time together there, guys, and everybody enjoy this weekend. And for the final time this year, enjoy the CFL game. The Grey Cup 109, Winnipeg or Toronto. One of these teams is taking it home. As always, thanks for everybody who's joined us live. A lot of fun comments in the chat here as well. Whatever podcast platform you're listening on, either now or after the fact, we appreciate if you do all the fun things, such as leave us a comment, like the show, subscribe, rate, review, share it with your friends, help us grow it. We always appreciate that. On behalf of our panel here this evening, Trey and Adam, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.